about a year and a half ago, maybe closer to 2 years, the Clackbrook Forest Communities Program started thinking about climate change and what it might mean out here in this region. And because there was a lot of work going on through the province, and has been for a while, about specific impacts to forests and forest ecosystems. But we very quickly came to the realization that although forests and impacts to those ecosystems was important, what was really more important out here was were the communities and vulnerability of communities to impacts from climate change. And so, as part of the Clackbrook Forest Communities Program, with the Heshkowit and Ahousaht and Tulukwit First Nations, we embarked on a community-based project to understand some of the potential impacts of climate change out here, and then to look at vulnerabilities within those communities and what type of adaptation steps might be taken.
My name is Melinda Swan. I'm from the Ahousaht First Nation. I work for the Ahousaht Council and met one-on-one with elders, and this kind of stuff wasn't something new to a lot of them. Because they've lived through a lot of changes and just adapted to what's happened, and that they feel like it's some of the responses I got is it's just the way things are supposed to happen. And I believe, I mean, it's easy to believe that, and then it's the other side of the coin is that it's happening because of what we do on every day.
The climate change awareness has changed the sort of thinking about the infrastructure and what type of things that they want to have in terms of sewage, and making sure that those pumping stations are a little higher above sea level. Do you think that there's any change there?
Yeah, I think so, and with the addition of the outcome of this project is bringing more awareness of what's to come yet in the future. And there was discussions about how we never used to have this type of stuff too, so it's even adapting just to what Europeans is what was used, the word what Europeans brought to us. So the final outcome of the project is to better what we have and to plan for what's possibilities.
My name is Sam Mickey, and I'm from Heshkowit First Nation. I was born in Tofino, and I grew up in around this area, Tofino, here.
And over your lifetime, have you noticed that with climate changing, I know most people that I've spoken with have said that, for example, the summers are a lot hotter and drier. Have you noticed that there's been any change in resources?
Yeah. Well, there's like the sea otter. You know, that was kind of disappearing for quite a number of years, and it's been reintroduced. You know, and it took about 8-9 years to come down the Heshkowit Peninsula. You know, to ravage our shellfish resources there, and in the harbour also. You know, it's not just our people over digging or over harvesting. You know, it's them pretty little creatures that people like to see, so sea otter, and they're constantly eating, you know, because they don't really have any fat on them, you know. So that's a big challenge for us, and our forefathers had some way of controlling them, so we got to find some, you know, that same way too. So.
Josiah Masu from the Tlaopiat First Nation. I work in our natural resource department now, and have to interact with a lot of our fishermen and harvesters of our territory. And this climate change project has brought a lot of information to our community. And then getting it to a stable point of resilience, and then you can handle climate change. You can handle what's coming at you. You can overcome it. You can just deal with it, like you're describing our elders did. We went through phases, but you're going through phases on a healthy and resilient homeland. Going through phases while you're destroying mountainsides in the 60s, and going through phases while you're overfishing everywhere, that's hard. I think we're at a point now where we're trying to manage everything for sustainability and fisheries, kelp forests, and clean water. I think it's got to a level of discussion now where we might get a model that is sustainable. But common sense would dictate that we're building houses more suited to the West Coast now than cookie cutter housing built for Ontario, built for our climate. So it's hard to say that we're managing more for climate change. It's tough because we're people of the ocean, and in our first aspirations of building our new community at Long Beach was to just keep building our community along the waterfront as our people would have historically. Yet, well, I mean, there's competing interests to not have us on the front of the beach, but with Parks Canada, but then also the rationale to locate our community safer up the hill. So you get that conflict between our culture and our traditions to being ocean-going people and to live facing the ocean, and trying to have a sustainable community that will be long-lived with quality housing. We need to distinguish the natural ebb and flow between this is a system of habitat that's recovering from deforestation or over-harvesting, overfishing, the disappearance of the kelp forest because of the hunting of the otter in the 1900s. So as each one of those recover, our species will be full and intact. Our homelands will be more resilient, capable of handling climate change. But if we're in a weakened state of resilience in our homelands, climate change will be much more difficult to handle.
I think there's an absolutely good news story in the sense that you have intact forest largely. You have some of the best conditioned forests like this left anywhere, and I would much prefer to be sitting in a community at the bottom of one of those mountainsides than somewhere further south or further north that doesn't have that sitting behind them, because those forests they give you resilience in the system. So they take in those, they dampen the effects of the storm, they dampen the effects for a long time, potentially into the future of increasing temperatures. The forests still are cool when you walk into them on a hot day. They moderate all of those effects, and they moderate sediment. We know all of that stuff. So you should be extremely grateful that you're right here.
Some of the